I want to bring our guests back in here. I know we have Scott Martin. I don't know if we have Jonathan Hunt. It sounds like we got both of them. Okay. So I would ask each of you, it's important, somebody commented, this is Wall Street patting Wall Street on the back. They can't really do that because, they're here to reassure markets, and also there are legal implications if they come out and say something that's not true. It's not. So let me ask you first, Jonathan, what did you hear there? What was kind of the biggest thing that jumped out?
Well, there will be some sort of intervention, and I fear that this is actually very reminiscent of 2008. Look, the bankers are correct. The economy is tremendously resilient, but there might have to be some corporate changes, layoffs, or job losses as a result of the real nature of the economy. And I have to say, I remember in 2008, it wasn't until the government started with the stimulus and the bailouts and TARPs that creates the systemic risk for all investors because, even now, tonight, what's the president going to announce? Who's going to be helped? So this creates exactly that type of panic when government central planners start getting involved with bailing out and stimulating.
I want to take issue with that, Scott, because if you listen to what they said there, no one said anything about helping any industries. They didn't talk about cruises. They didn't talk about hotels. They didn't talk about airlines. What they talked about were people who were going to miss a paycheck. And they talked about small businesses, medium-sized businesses, and they said that the system is well capitalized and it's working. One of the concerns is that lockup in the credit market. That's what people were talking about last weekend with the oil crisis. They're like, wait a second, all of a sudden, credit markets are going to go haywire. They're saying, look, it's been 3 or 4 days and everything is moving along. Scott, what'd you think?
Yeah, and I agree with you, Melissa. And unlike 08, which, again, I know what Jonathan's getting at, but unlike 08 where those credit markets froze up, where, banks had mortgages in groups of mortgages and syndicates that couldn't be sold. They couldn't be moved around.
Right.
And so that one thing that I heard, Melissa, that was really good, and I lost my data feed or I lost my video, but somebody talked about the independent contractor, the quote-unquote gig economy, and how those people are the ones that are going to be off the radar screen. And somebody is paying attention to the fact that, well, those people aren't going to show up on those IBM payrolls that somebody was talking about, but they need to be taken care of because 36% nowadays, guys, is gig economy.
I'm looking for who said that. Go ahead.
You're going to have every constituency now showing up, the caterers, the restaurant operators, the insurance companies, showing up at the White House with their hand out for a bailout, for low-interest loans. And you're right, Melissa, it's not a bailout for the cruise operators, but it's very low-interest loans. It's that type of stimulus and assistance. It sets a terrible moral precedent and moral hazard, I think, that's going to vex the economy and vex any hope for a recovery.
I don't know. I don't think we're quite there
what do we do,
yet.
Just forget about
They were focused on the little guy to the point of that gig economy. And, the president's kind of cheap as hell, so I'm not really sure he's going to, do any kind of blanket sort of stuff. He doesn't love that. Anyway, guys, thank you.
The other